Hi, my name is Josh Howe. This is my capstone video presentation. Um, just a little bit about myself. I'm a physical therapist and athletic trainer for Methodist Health Systems. I have been practicing for approximately 8 years and been with the Methodist Health System for approximately five. My project was oriented around helping HETRA. It's Heartland Equine Therapy Recreational Academy. Um, that's located in Gretna, Nebraska, on assisting their billing system as far as their new outpatient physical therapy and occupational therapy clinic was provided. Um, this is all presented in the organizational profile. However, Hetra had recently moved to a large facility, and they had aspirations and goals to increase their revenue source within outpatient physical therapy and occupational therapy services. Their goal was to complement equine therapy, which is the horse therapy, to facilitate recovery. So, um, you know, a couple examples of their services would be to ensure a patient would be able to facilitate or be able to get on the horse. They would be able to stretch them out, um, do some neuromuscular re-education for them to sit on the horse so they can get the effects of equine therapy. Another aspect that could be beneficial to the patient is also performing gait training and muscle education and re-education after equine therapy. So you take a patient, you have them walk around with a horse, um, and afterwards you have them get out and you do some re-education on gait activities to ensure that they're trying to learn what they gain from the equine or hippotherapy. These patient populations varies. They can go from low tone patients to CVAs to traumatic brain injuries. I'm sorry, CVAs is cerebrovascular accidents, which is strokes. TBIs is traumatic brain injuries. Multiple sclerosis, veterans with multiple gunshot wounds, tumors. So these are pretty impacted patients, and they're limited in their overall functional ability to ambulate and function. And there is some research validating equine therapy to its effectiveness of increasing functional activities. However, none of that equine therapy is billable through insurance. So that's why we have to facilitate the outpatient service aspect, which is the stretching, the muscle education, the gait activities. Um, Hetra was trying to open up a physical therapy clinic on March 1st. When I met them in February 3rd, 2015, they were still quite limited. So I and Anne Griman, director of the Capstone Project, we chose this project knowing that their time frame to achieving and opening up their physical therapy and occupational therapy clinic was very limited. So we decided to choose the reimbursement aspect as a lot of it's very applicable to the HOM program. Um, in addition, um, we thought this was very beneficial as this is a significant hurdle for them to be successful in outpatient physical therapy. The goals of this project was to research billing services, EMR companies, insurance clearinghouses, and to be able to provide a workflow process if they would like to be able to bill independently. So what I was able to do is I was able to contact six EMR/billing companies for physical and occupational therapy. I was able to research four insurance clearinghouse companies, and I was able to create a workflow process for insurance submission. And that workflow process also included insurance verification, common CPT codes, and common ICD-9 codes that would have been most commonly used for HITRA's patient population. So I was able to contact 6 EMR and billing companies, and all this information is on the website, and you just have to click on the EMR/billing company. But in general, what we see with the EMR company is that there is a large overhead, and then the national standard is 6 to 7% of collection fees. So their cost varies significantly. So some companies' upfront cost was $1,500, $200. Some have implementation fees, some have maintenance fees, but overall, all of them were fairly standard in that 6 to 7% of collection fees. So if HITRA was billing out $100, this company would take $6 to $7 off of it. And a lot of them had a minimum they had to qualify for. So a lot of the minimums were quite high, which, some of the minimums were from $1,000 to $1,500. So with that said, that's a large overhead. In addition, they charge per therapist to be credentialed into their system. So HITRA's system and HITRA's therapy program consisted of 6 part-time occupational and physical therapy. So what happens is that there is some credentialing fees and there is some per therapy fees already to that. So that is significant. The companies I was able to research was Clinician, Optimus PT Core, MT Therapy, Planet Rehab, Curio, and PT Billing Service. So there's a lot of fees to this, and especially when we're discussing regarding non-for-profit companies, this is a large overhead, and I'm sure they provide good services, and a lot of them are coordinated to their EMR. So basically what they did was to incorporate a system where you document, and we create this written documentation system, and then it all translates over into the billing, which is all interconnected. That is a great service, may be very beneficial for a large outpatient physical therapy clinic, but with the patient population that HITRA is providing, and the number of patients that they're going to start out with, it may not be the most attainable and feasible and financially responsible to go towards this route at this time. A second route that we decided to overlook was the insurance clearinghouse. What happens with the insurance clearinghouse is that it's just taking the billing component into consideration. So there's several different companies, and I was able to research for these companies. These were Navicare, Claim, MD, MDON, and HealthSmart. So what happens with this is that you basically contract out through this insurance billing provider. You get this software application. You're doing documentation on your side. So unlike the third party and the EMR billing company, your documentation, your billing is separate, and all you're doing is paying for the billing software. And this is all HIPAA compliant. So what happens after you perform your treatment session and documentation? All you do is go into their software, and you click on the CPT and ICD-9 codes that you want to bill under for that day. So they make it very clear cut, very efficient, very electronic based, which is great. However, there is some fees associated with that. It's a little bit less than the EMR and billing company. However, there's overall a general fee of $500 to $250 for the software that you have to pay. There's somewhere between $250 to $100 for the implementation fee, and there is approximately $100 per therapist fee to be credentialed. So those are some considerations that HETRA had to be considered before utilizing an insurance clearinghouse. So I know personally from knowing a couple physical therapists who do their own physical therapy clinic, they do an insurance clearinghouse, but their situation is different. They're a large outpatient physical therapy clinic that has a high volume. Um, so they felt like they provide good service. They felt like they utilize the insurance clearinghouse well. They feel the cost is a little bit more beneficial than the EMR slash third-party billing companies previously discussed. But in this specific situation, still for HETRA, it's still quite a significant amount of investment, especially when you're talking about 6 part-time physical therapists, and that's already, I'm sorry, 6 part-time physical therapy and occupational therapists already building out at $600 per month to be able to utilize their insurance clearinghouse, to utilize the insurance clearinghouse. The third way was to basically create a workflow process in which pre-verification and how to bill insurance company, and this is also underneath the Word document. But basically, all insurance companies have a direct way to bill their insurance company to bill. So after HETRA was credentialed per physical and occupational therapist, they have a login, password, accessibility to patient information through the to the specific insurance website. So billing directly is achievable. What you take consideration is you need to do some work on the pre treatment side of it. So we created a pre-verification form where the person who's talking to them over the telephone takes their insurance information, and with that said, that person is responsible for verifying their insurance, so what their copay, out-of-pocket, their deductible is, and that's crucial for patient's sake. That's crucial for how you're going to collect on the front end of things. The workflow process sheet that I created consisted of how to bill the physical therapy insurance company. Medicare is just a little bit different, so there's different standards and coding sets that we have to implement. So that was informed on the workflow process for the insurance submission, and then how to address the accounts receivable. So there is a lot of information going on in here that they per patient population. I did create ICD-9 and CPT codes that are commonly used in physical therapy and occupational therapy with these patient populations, so that may increase the efficiency of billing for them. But on the other hand, this creates a lot of paperwork. This creates a lot of management issues and personnel difficulties for a nonprofit. So on the other hand, when you bill insurance directly, it's free. There's no cost, and there's no setup fee, there's no maintenance fee, there's no upfront cost fee. So that's a significant benefit to a starting physical therapy clinic, starting a part of a nonprofit organization. In conclusion, we had I was able to provide them 3 different options. An expensive EMR / billing company, which takes a lot of revenue, an insurance clearinghouse, which didn't take so much money, but made the billing process pretty easily, which is a fairly good option to go if they wanted to offload their workload, and then creating a workflow process for insurance submission. So overall, in my opinion, my personal preference, and as far as a physical therapist, I felt like direct billing was probably the most feasible. And what I mean by that is, um, you're starting up a new physical and occupational therapy clinic. You want to maintain as much profit as you can. So if your physical therapist and occupational therapist are willing to work with you and help with the insurance aspect of it, I think that would be a significant assistance to the personnel. I know HETRA has a lot of volunteers, and so I don't know if they can coordinate their volunteers into the billing department. As far as their coding shouldn't be too difficult because, like I said, their patient population is limited. It's not a wide variety of patients. So their ICD-9 and their CPT codes aren't going to be too variable. So that would make it a little bit easier. If you're able to get easy access to online access to all the insurance companies, that should make it a little bit easier and affordable. So we came out with the three conclusions. I presented all that information to HETRA, and they appreciated the information. Unfortunately, at that time, they still weren't ready. They still had outlay issues. They still had design issues to their clinic. So they had high aspirations of starting on March 1st. However, pretty limited in their time frame and span. They were just a little bit behind still, and insurance and billing aspect was still kind of their second priority. And this is for one example. Usually it takes 90 days to credential for insurance companies. When I discussed with them on February 3rd their goals as far as starting their physical therapy clinic, they wanted March 1st. So they were trying to push the boundaries of credentialing pretty fast. So in conclusion, this was a very beneficial capstone project personally for me. I'm an outpatient physical therapist. I did not appreciate, the effort and the work that the personnel goes into billing and ensuring that coding and CPT coding and ICD-9 codings were appropriately performed with my patients. So this provided me a great aptitude for this information. I maybe appreciate kind of the significance of how physical therapists document to allow billing to assess the coding difficulties and building difficulties. So that's a very significant information. Also, it's very information for me as far as a physical therapist. If in the future I ever wanted to open up a physical therapy clinic, that I know that there are several different options to ensure that my documentation and billing and my insurance credentialing is all verified. So this is a very eye-opening experience. I hope HETRA liked the information that was provided. I think they were going to go with a EMR billing company. I think they had someone in mind already. However, hopefully I created some information that they weren't aware of. I was able to create some workflow process information that they may implement in the future. However, nothing now. So all right. Well, thank you for listening.